Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Greetings. You're listening to Guiding Stars Evolutionary Astrology Radio. This is your host, Kristin Fontana, and I'm here with my co-host, Rose Marcus from Vancouver, Canada. Welcome back, Rose.
Oh, thanks, Kristin. Great to be with you again.
Yes, and we're a little tardy this month, recording this at almost the last day of June, but we'll cover you for July for sure. A lot is happening, as always, but before we dive in, I just wanted to say that, this work, evolutionary astrology, has been the greatest gift. I know you feel the same, Rose, and just a guiding light in my life and for so many of you, I'm sure, who tune in and can receive some insight that way. And we're so excited. We're gathering together with 15 speakers from all over the world who do this work in October to do an online conference. And so wanted to just direct you to the website if you're interested to learning more about evolutionary astrology. There's so many areas within this work to glean from in your own life, your own journey. And that's jwgaea.org is the website. You can check out who's speaking and what the topics are. You can attend one class or all of them. So just wanted to let everybody know, if you don't know already, we look forward to seeing you, as many as possible, at that time. So we welcome you all.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be an exciting conference, and I think we're all stoked to present for you. So, join us.
Definitely, without a doubt. All right, so today we're recording this a day before it goes live, so almost the last day, 29th of June. And I don't know about you, Rose, but I do have a question for you. Last week, Mars, which, Mars can be such a rebel when it's squaring Uranus, as it was last week, or just really still feeling it. So Mars in Leo has been squaring Uranus in Taurus. It's moved beyond the square, but now Venus, which is also in Leo, is squaring Uranus. And so I was thinking to myself, okay, obviously everyone in the world is not going to have some sudden, unexpected thing happen that stops them in their tracks, but although it certainly could cause that, there has to be some people that are completely benefiting from these transits. So, right, Rose? So what do you have to say about that?
Well, yeah, I think that, of course, it isn't one size fits all, and how the transits are going to affect you personally is going to be unique to your own life. But when you have Venus and Uranus in dynamic aspect, it is enlightenment. It could be some unexpected thing that takes place in your life, but it could be simply an aha moment or something that goes pop for you, or you just have some kind of realization. It can be the start of something, and certainly it is about seeing things in a new light and entertaining new possibilities and, some kind of personal breakthrough. I mean, I have personal breakthroughs all the time that to me are like, wow, but it doesn't really change how I'm operating, like nobody else sees it, but for me it's really a profound thing, whatever it might be. A different way to process information or so on. But, we are coming up to Venus squaring Uranus, and because of, we're going to talk about this for the next hour, but because of the retrograde cycle that Venus has coming up, Venus is going to be in dynamic tension to Uranus 3 times, and that's July 2nd, August 9, and September 29. So so it's not only the the trigger that takes place on July 2nd, which precedes a full moon as well too, so it punches up things. But it's a whole process that is arcing over the next couple of months.
Right. So give those dates again.
July 2nd, August 9, and September 29. And that is because Venus is going to be doing a retrograde cycle. Now, Venus, it's in the sign of Leo, and it moved into Leo in the middle of June. Generally, a Venus transit is just under 4 weeks, 3+ weeks. But because of the retrograde cycle, which is July 22nd to September 2nd, Venus is going to travel through the sign of Leo all the way to the middle of October. And so that is a very long transit of Venus in the sign of Leo, which is creator energy, right? So actualization, it is, Venus is the principle of getting back in touch with the heart and center of anything, the heart and center of you, the heart and center of whatever it is that you're facing, right? So that's a very, very long transit. And the retrograde, Venus makes it to 28 degrees, or 30 degrees in a sign, 28 degrees of Leo before it turns around and goes back again. So we have a very, I think that when a planet spends longer, wherever it spends, it just gives you more opportunity to really, color it in very well. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was just writing about this for Libra yesterday, when I was writing my column, actually Tuesday. Venus does rule the sign of Libra. It also rules Taurus. So Taurus is the inner side of Venus, and it's also linked with our survival and our resources, which is why we say Venus rules love and money because of that. The outer side of Venus, which is the ruler for Libra in our relationship to others, is obviously linked with how we feel about others and those connections, how we relate to others. Venus, from a Taurus perspective, is the inner relationship we have with ourselves. So, when Venus does move retrograde, we're reevaluating everything. And my favorite way to talk about Venus is, as souls having a human experience, we all are connected to these senses that we have, all of our senses that allow us to enjoy life, everything, what we can lay our eyes on, what we touch that feels just right, an embrace from someone we love, our favorite meal, food, we're sitting by a warm fire on a cold night, or, whatever it might be, putting your toes in the sea, in the sand, at the surf shore. So, all of these things that make us feel alive, all these things that make us feel good, or actually not good when we're not in balance, right? So I just love the Venus in Leo retrograde because I do see this as a very indulging sign, and when I use the word indulging in something, it doesn't necessarily mean caviar and champagne. It can mean just spending a little more time doing the things that you love to do, giving yourself a little more of something so you are feeling more in balance. And really, I guess lapping it up a little more, right? Lapping life up a little more, the luxuries of life a little bit more. And sometimes that's just a walk in the woods, or, a longer meditation. So you choose. The other thing, too, with Venus, it's a lower octave of Neptune. And so when Venus in retrogrades and Neptune is the higher octave, meaning our connection to the infinite, the retrograde will have us turning in to ourselves and touching base with, what am I valuing now? And what is my connection to something more eternal? That is, am I spending time, am I giving back to that space? Because when we do that, we all feel better, right? When we get quiet, when we create space for to be fed in some unconditional way, we all feel better. So that's what I feel like is on offer there. And so end of July, August, early September to the 2nd is the retrograde. in particular. But
yeah, and and Venus is the principle of tuning in. We call it the psychology of inner hearing when it is in the inner Venus. Venus has two rulerships, as you said a few moments ago, Taurus and Libra. And the Taurus is the inner side, so that is how you are tuning in, how you are resonating with yourself. It corresponds to, punching up the senses. It's like all of your sensory perception is now speaking louder. It's, when we have that Venus retrograde, it is listening to the inner voice, and the inner voice is speaking through all of those vibrational energies here of how I'm feeling and what I'm sensing, and bringing in all of the senses in a more dynamic way. And just the Venus principle in relationship to Aquarius as well too. There's vibration, and Uranus is currently traveling through Taurus. That's an acceleration principle here, but it is, again, awakening all of the sensory perceptions, all of the feel of things. And so as Venus is retrograde in the sign of Leo, it is stimulating all of these energy centers and creating this magnetic vibration. And what happens with Venus retrograde, it densifies your energy field. It's a yin quality when a planet is retrograde, so it is pulling in. And your magnetic vibrational energy field is intensified, but it's also very, very specific. So it's not doing kind of the random feelers out there. It's doing very specific feelers and sending out very specific signals. And so Aquarius deals with energy, frequency, vibration, and so does Venus retrograde. So it is a more potent signaling. It is a more potent calling forth. During the time that Venus is retrograde, it calls forth the unfinished business. It calls forth fated circumstances. It is deja vu moments. It's all of that kind of stuff. You're resonating with something. The soul is looking to reconnect with whatever that is that's at the core that the soul wants to resolve and wants to evaluate, wants to re-examine in terms of that observation. And right now, Venus is in the sign of Leo. Venus in Leo is a lovely energy. Like, I want to play. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy myself.
Exactly.
I want to spend on a really good dinner. I'm just going to, I'm going to put on something that makes me look good and feel good.
Exactly.
It's all of that. And so, we're already, magnetizing it, energizing this, I deserve it. I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take it on because I love it, right?
Yeah.
And then
a lot more color and a lot more flavor, and that's what it is.
I bet you. Let's spice that one right up. But then when it turns retrograde, then that's a check-in with self. Well, I've had a few weeks now of this Venus in Leo, and I've been living it up and just feeling it all and so on. And now I'm going to qualify. That's what the Venus retrograde's doing. Do I really love this? Is it really what I want? Am I really confirmed in the fact that I desire and I deserve? And I think that that's a really big one. It's like, I really want this, but, we're such fence sitters in terms of action, right? It's like, I really want a better situation here. I really want, to be better respected or better loved or better, I want more attention or whatever, but you don't really put out the signals. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And then the rest happens.
This Leo teaching is, I remember back in the evolutionary astrology schools when Jeff Green was talking about the archetype of Leo, and when we imagine that the sea is the source of all things, and each wave that separates from it is a soul being born. And within each wave, we have desires as souls to actualize out in the world. Some desires can be fleeting, some can be longer term, and we never really know at times how long something will really be sustainable or will, really do it for us, whatever it might be. I mean, it can be, he used this great example of, really after, we have a desire, and it could be something material since we're talking about Leo. I really want that new couch for this space. I really want it, really want it, really want it. All you can think about is that new couch. And as soon as you get it, how long after you've got it are you thinking about the chair you need to put next to it? It's like this, it becomes this bottomless pit of, or if you're shopping for something, for a new pair of shoes, you get them, and how soon after it's like, I need a matching bag, right? So what happens is after the soul actualizes or is able to grab a hold of what it desires, that is creating this sense of separateness, right? Out in the world, you're going after it, the new lover, the new job, anything. There's really, at some point in time, that will be that feeling of I've got it, that's it, I feel whole. I feel whole because I've got it, I've gotten it. How soon after that is that feeling replaced with emptiness? And now you have to go get something to fill that hole, the next hole. And so that's what we do as humans. I mean, it's completely natural. We're all moving in time and space. We're all actualizing who we are, hopefully. And so this is also a Leo teaching, and that nothing, and through the Venus retrograde, this is where we learn, hopefully, to change what we think we need. And at some point, and I should say, nothing out there will ever be able to fill everything in here. No love, nothing. No love out there, no person. And so, again, it always brings it back to you. It brings it back to us, to be able to learn how to cultivate that inner relationship to ourselves through the sextile to the 12th house, Taurus ruled Venus there, ruled by Neptune, 12th house, our connection to the infinite. The inner door is always open. That's what will happen during the retrograde for people when you realize that whatever you've been seeking out there, even if you get it, because you will get it, you're going to get some things you want and need. I'm sure of it, right, Rose?
That's right.
In July, and then for how long does it feel good? For how long are you satisfied before you're left feeling there's got to be more than this?
Well, yeah, and that's exactly so. And on another level as well, too, it is that sense of around the corner, but not now, And when the Venus retrograde comes, perhaps it is a sense of, well, if this is good as it gets, let me enjoy this moment, right? We have to find the moments within that, and this, my thinking on this is, because we're in the month of Cancer, and there's a new moon and there's a full moon with Capricorn and so on, and we look at the external and we see what's wrong with the world, or we see the pressures, and it's too expensive to be able to afford a house, and the rents are too high, and everything, my paycheck isn't going far enough, and blah blah blah, right? And somewhere in there we have to find a way to make ourselves happy in the moment, to find whatever it is, that source, because that's how we build it. It's all the negativity out there in the world that puts a low pressure ceiling on everything, right?
Yeah.
And abundance creates abundance. So coming from a place of joy and well-being and happiness and all of that, like spreading the love around a little bit, that punches things up, and it what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of it unlocks the box, so to speak, right? If I'm happy and I have a really good conversation with you, you go off and you're feeling a little buzzed up, and you deliver that kind of punch up to the next person that you see, and on it goes, right? And then I mean, we have to remember those kinds of ways of being in the world,
That's a perfect teaching, too, because we've got this full moon coming up in Capricorn early Monday morning in the West on July 3rd, and it is, thank God, trining Jupiter. I have to say, anytime I see anything like Did I say new moon? I meant full moon.
Full moon, you did, yes.
Okay, I did. Okay, full moon in Capricorn. Anything full moon in Capricorn, and I'm like, oh, God, like, the weight of the world, right? Sometimes we can feel the weight of the world when a full moon's growing in Capricorn, or the sense of running out of time. Am I doing enough? Again, is this all there is? Feeling like you've reached a limit in some area of your life. Where is that limit? It could be anything from I need to take better care of my health to what am I doing in this relationship, or I really need to find a new job. This is killing me, whatever it might be. But the great thing with Jupiter trining this full moon is that I see this as an illuminating energy, like showing you the truth of what just has to happen now. Don't wait. Right?
Right.
But also there's opportunities that can show up when you do surrender, when you do actually say, okay, waving the white flag now. We just really need to make some new choices. So, to Jupiter. Tell me what do you think about that trine?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, the full moon is a super full moon, by the way, which punches up the energy of that, meaning that the full moon is closer to the Earth. So it's more dynamic in the Capricorn end of things, as you said, coming to the end. It's about the time constraints. It's about the extra pressure. It's about the extra responsibilities. Mercury is in opposition to that full moon, so maybe there's a difficult conversation to have. Maybe you have to reinforce the boundaries and so on. But on the super full moon, Venus and Uranus are just surpassing that square. So it may be, that this pressure point is necessary because you need a release, right? And look to that Venus-Uranus to bring in something new, a new way of seeing it, a new perspective. Maybe a difficult conversation has to happen so that it can clear the air, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so like you said at the very beginning of the show, the way these transits play out for one person is going to be very different than for someone else potentially, because it all has to do with what we've been spending our time doing
right
until then, right? What do we need to work out or work through? Or have we been honest with ourselves? Have we been honest with others? And that's what it's going to come down to. Like if you have any resentment or you're holding on to something and you really need to talk about it and haven't, maybe you're afraid of what someone's going to do is what you need to say. And finally, this full moon with Venus squaring Uranus and this full moon opposing Mercury, trining Jupiter, the truth will come out. And thank God it will. Because there's nothing like saying what you mean and meaning what you say to create an absolute release.
And one other thing on that, too, is that full moon in Capricorn, stop is timely, right? Coming to the end of something is timely, right? So this keep going this way, So,
yeah, exactly. I don't have that much left in me, right? So,
right.
Speaking of which, TikTok, we heard we need to go to a break,
yes.
So we will be right back in a bit.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Okay, you're stressed. You need a little R&R. Wouldn't going to a spa help? There's all kinds of spas, too. Destination spas, medical spas, day spas, even dental and mobile spas. Where do you find the right spa at the right price? Oh, no, more stress? Well, not anymore. Visit spafinders.com. At spafinders.com, you'll find everything you need to know about spas from around the world. So de-stress. Click on spafinders.com right on our homepage. Ah, I'm feeling relaxed already.
What would happen if you didn't follow the established path? Would you feel scared or proud? Could you explain that helping the people of Peru improve their own community would also have an effect on your own? Would you rather make your own way spend a lifetime saying, what if? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or go to peacecorps.gov.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
All right, we have returned. We're talking about the full moon in Capricorn Monday, July 3rd, trining Jupiter, opposing your Mercury. And Venus and Uranus are already squaring each other for all intents and purposes. You know, it's not just one day. We feel it. If you're sensitive, you've already been feeling it for sure. And especially when it starts to wax, it moves into that square, and it's almost like an anticipatory sense of something, anticipatory anxiety. Yeah. That can happen when you know you need to have the conversation with your boss, or you know you need to have a conversation with the child or a partner, and you just need it to go well, right? Of course. The fear of anything typically far outweighs the actual reality when it plays out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, it might be really difficult to say whatever it is you have to say, but after the fact, you'll feel happy that you did, right? You know, oh, phew, at least I got that one out. You know, It might be a difficult moment, but, you know, honesty is the best policy, right?
It always is.
Always is. Yeah.
So, you know, you're in Canada, but we do have a holiday weekend here. 4th of July is Tuesday.
We have the 1st of July as well, too. So this full moon is sandwiched in between Canada Day and the 4th of July, right? You know, so at the very least, that Venus-Uranus and the full moon are really good for taking a long weekend, taking a break from all the pressure.
Yeah,
of work,
for sure.
You know, yeah, the ordinary everyday, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's still going to be fireworks. We just don't know if you're going to like them. No, maybe they'll be better than ever, actually, is the other side of it. You never know, because it could be something unexpected that is quite pleasing. You know, it just depends again. As I said at the beginning, not everybody is going to struggle with the full moon in Capricorn. Some people will just be singing hallelujah, you know. I really needed this moment, and it's really reached a place where now I feel like a new chapter can begin. I always think about this image every time I'm imagining an energy like this, and when I'm talking to clients who are holding on to things too, and it's really weighing them down, it's this great visual of imagining that you are at the beach or at a pool party, and you've got this beach ball, and it's filled with all the emotion that you're holding, that you've been holding for years, maybe lifetimes, but at least for weeks probably. And you've submerged this, you're trying to submerge this beach ball underwater in the swimming pool. And I just have so many memories of doing this when I'm a kid, thinking, you know, how long can I hold this ball under before it pops up and darts out? And, you know, it's always fun to see where is it going to land. And it's not fun when you get hit with it, though, right? So anyway, that's what we do, and it's the same thing. How long can you actually hold on to something before it just needs to come out or else? And I think the full moon coupled with Venus squaring Uranus has that ball darting out if you're not going to start the conversation or get something moving.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, I think the full moon, too, I'm thinking about the weather, right? And on the news yesterday, like a lot of flights are being canceled because of forest fires and the fact that, you know, the visibility is very bad and so on, you know. So it could inhibit travel or, you know, could inhibit plans. But I say, you know, keep it simple. You know, look at Plan B might be a better idea for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so we have Mars, which I think of fire, of course. Its recent square to Uranus is moving on. It only has a handful of days left before it enters Virgo. I believe, is that July 9th?
July 10th. Yeah,
10th.
July 10th.
Right, 10th. So Mars will enter Virgo, very different energy on July 10th. But the way that I see this transition, because Mercury is on its way to Leo as well.
Same day, yes.
Same day. Wow, there's so much going on that week. Anyway, if right now, or what has been unfolding and still is on its way, it's a very creative place with Mars and Leo. You know, you really want to make more of your life, more of your work, more of the love, whatever it is in your life that makes your heart beat. Leo is all about purpose and passion and fire and just really wanting to not limit yourself in any way. And so I really feel that it's a time when we can get in touch with what that is for ourselves. And by the time Mars reaches Virgo, it's, you know, you got to get to work on it. Now you got to really do the work every day, chip away at it every day. And you know, if you know what you want, then it will be work worth doing, right? It'll be meaningful. So how do you see that transition? Because Mercury then goes into Leo.
Yeah, I really see this as quite productive. You know, it is that Leo bit about I want, and you know, and like maybe a bit of inflation, or you know, just kind of seeing all of that in some kind of you know, kind of elevated way. And then when Mars moves into Virgo, it's kind of like qualifying, right? You know. So I feel that, you know, Mercury is still in Leo, just moving out of Cancer and into Leo. Mercury in Leo is saying, yeah, that really feels good for me to, you know, to take this on or do this activity or, you know, convey it in this way. And I feel that the Mars in Virgo is like filling in all of the missing blanks or the missing keys. You know, it's a qualifier, you know, where Leo's kind of a broad stroke that says, yeah, it's all good. And Mars in Virgo says, well, wait a minute here, this needs to be tweaked. You know, this needs to be improved upon. You know, this isn't quite where it needs to be, so let me work on that piece of it, right? You know, so now that I've got the broad stroke, you know, now that I've, you know, fallen in love with you or it, or, you know, what have it, gotten the couch, you know, I need the chair. You know, and so I think it is that Mars in Virgo is kind of keeping tabs in a really good way, right? You know.
Yeah. It's like now that I fall in love with you, I guess I do need to sleep too, right?
Right.
So I do need to sit down and have something to eat. Like, you know, everything. We can't forget about this. We still have practical pieces still in place, reminding you that that needs to happen. I absolutely love, though, that Mercury shifts into Leo that same day, because what it does is that while the Mars in Virgo can be, you know, productive and, you know, making sure that you're taking care of all things, Mercury in Leo can still be just so expressive and creative. The ideas are flowing, and, you know, when your mind is bouncing around and you're thinking about things that bring you joy, then if you're working on something, it's no big deal because you're feeling good about whatever it is. And so I do love that pairing right there.
I was going to say that the Mars in Virgo is keeping it real, just as you were said. You know, like, you know, I'm just like going to town on all this, but wait a minute, I also need to take care of business.
Exactly. The other thing, oh my gosh, I remember too, realizing because I was just writing about this. So the transiting nodes, South Node in Scorpio and North Node in Taurus, are finishing an 18-month on the 17th of July, but as Mars enters Virgo, it trines the North Node in Taurus. So now we have a big shift from Mars in Leo to Mars in Virgo. Can be a little humbling. Sometimes we think, well, who do I think I am? You know, I have these big dreams. Mars in Virgo. But Mercury in Leo says, you can do it. Come on, you can do it. This is how God made you. Come on, you can do it. And then the trine to the North Node says, okay, I'm just going to put myself in motion and see what happens. And I'm going to see if the universe delivers any signs, right? Because that's what we all need to keep on going. So the fact that Virgo makes this shift and then trines the North Node on that day, that feels sweet to me.
Oh, yeah. That's like planting your garden, watering your seeds, you know, like, you know, putting the steps in place to make that, to make it real.
Yeah. And I would say, too, that I think the flowers are blooming on that day. You've already been working the garden. You've already been, you've already planted the seeds. You've already watered. And all of a sudden you've been waiting for your favorite plant to bloom, and there it is.
Yeah.
That's going to be a powerful week.
Yeah.
The heat is here in my town, I know, so everything's going to be exploding. So, all right, we'll be right back after the break.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Have you ever wondered why you are here on this planet and what the point to all of this is? Evolutionary astrology is a natural science that allows for an understanding of the evolutionary journey of the soul from life to life. Evolutionary astrology provides a vehicle to understand prior life dynamics that have led to the reason and purpose for the life you live. It offers a depth of information and insights about each person that no other type of astrology can provide. As Jeffrey Wolf Green, the founder of evolutionary astrology, says,
for those who wish to unveil the depth of who you actually are, I would highly recommend that you seek out qualified evolutionary astrologers such as Kristin Fontana and other graduated students of the School of Evolutionary Astrology. For those who are considering becoming an astrologer to make it a natural career, I'd recommend that you consider Jeffrey Wolf Green's School of Evolutionary Astrology, or it will assist you in answering and your clients answering a big question. Why am I here? Thanks for listening, and God bless.
Okay, you're stressed. You need a little R&R. Wouldn't going to a spa help? There's all kinds of spas, too. Destination spas, medical spas, day spas, even dental and mobile spas. Where do you find the right spa at the right price? Oh, no, more stress? Well, not anymore. Visit spafinders.com. At spafinders.com, you'll find everything you need to know about spas from around the world. So de-stress. Click on spafinders.com right on our homepage. I'm feeling relaxed already.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
All right, the girls are back. We're back. And we were talking about this transition, Mars entering Virgo, trining the North Node in Taurus, at, the very last degree of Taurus, and the nodes shift a week later. They back up into,
the
Aries North Node and Libra South Node.
That's right. And, and that happens on the new moon on the 17th of July. And, that new moon is a new moon in Cancer, 24 degrees Cancer, will be opposing Pluto, right? So I think that this feels to me like a pretty punched up new moon. And actually on the new moon, with the time that I've got here, the nodes are still at 0. So on this new moon, at the time of the new moon, the nodes, which are the true nodes that we use in evolutionary astrology, are at 0, right, at exactly 0. And then just after the new moon gets underway, it switches to the Aries-Libra chapter, right? So that's quite a big to-do that we have going on for this new moon piece. So the nodes moving into Libra and Aries, we've touched on it a little bit in previous broadcasts, and I think that this is quite potent. So for the next 18 months, we are working our way through relationship dynamics. The South Node in Libra, that is the unfinished business of relationship dynamics and exploring, how it is that you are operating when in relationship, when in relationship to others, when in relationship to your world. It's the externalized version of you, right? And while the North Node going through Aries is a whole experiential track in terms of instincts and impulses, fresh instincts and impulses that the soul is programming, or it's kind of the triggers that the soul is saying, hey, how about having a new relationship with yourself, right? So let's break new ground here, right? So it will accelerate whatever those dynamics are. And, I've been feeling really the nodal axis in Taurus and Scorpio. I think I said this before, like molasses, like those are fixed signs, and it's been a little bit thick energy as of late. Once these the nodal axis moves into Aries and Libra, it's going to accelerate relationship dynamics. It's going to accelerate your interfacing with the world around you, and how that is, shifting how you relate inwardly to yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's going to feel so different. Oh. And I know we've taught this many times, but if you're wondering why these nodes are going backwards, their natural motion is retrograde. And all the planets' natural motion is direct, and they do go retrograde except for the sun and the moon. And it's because we are always referring to our past or returning to our past, reflecting about our past. And when we do that, at any given point in time, we're doing so in order to create a better future for ourselves. In fact, 80% of all the choices that we make are a result of what's held in the subconscious, which equals Uranus is the long-term memories that are held in the cells of your being. And all of our experiences from the past are conditioning this very moment. It makes sense, right? If something, if there was a traumatic event in your past and walking down one road led to a traumatic event, you're gonna think twice about walking down that same road again, right? You might choose a completely different path. And so anyway, we are always, it's a good thing, of course, to be returning to our past. So that's why the natural motion of the nodes is retrograde. So it's the past, the present, and the future always an operation. The present moon, or the moon in your chart, has to do with your emotional body in this life. The south node of the moon is the ego your soul chose from the past to actualize its desires and intentions. And the north node of the moon is where your soul is headed in this lifetime, what your soul or your ego structure in order to actualize the soul's intentions. So when you look at the transiting nodes, what those are doing, these are lunar energies, these are emotional energies, and they're pulling you into an energy, the north node is, wanting to pull you into a place emotionally so you can evolve. And that's how to understand those points.
Yeah, and on that note here, we're starting this whole nodal axis shift this next 18 months on a new moon in Cancer, which is opposing Pluto, which is in Capricorn. And so Cancer and Capricorn are two of the archetypes that correspond to the past, right? And the Cancer archetype deals with our emotional foundation, our sense of safety, our sense of security, how we nurture and nourish ourselves. It's got to do with the ego self and the developing ego. The developing ego is the lens in the camera that allows for the soul to view that which it desires for its own evolution. When we've got this new moon here, in the opposition to the Pluto position, it's in this area of not quite. There's something unfinished that needs to be healed, needs to be improved upon, needs to be re-examined, and so on. The relationship of Venus and Mars are important to view. Venus and Mars for the next 18 months are going to be, key planets to watch in their movement, in their transit, as they do their dynamic dance with one another. And right now, at the start of Venus turning retrograde and so on, the Venus and Mars position are in what we call balsamic. So again, they are in a completion phase. So we're working through all of this setup with the nodal axis. Switching gears is going to suggest that we have a little bit more time to put in to resolve something from the past, to re-examine it, to understand it better, to have our aha moments, and to perhaps liberate ourselves from such, right? And the relationship of any planet that is retrograde, that's that planet's relationship to the sun. And so Venus retrograde, which, takes place, the Venus phases are in 9-month relationship to the sun. Venus is in what we call the evening position right now, and in August, I've forgotten the exact date in August, I think it's about the 23rd of August, Venus and the sun will conjunct while Venus is retrograde, and that starts a new cycle for Venus. So, to tie all that up, it suggests here that we're in a very, very potent transition point here of revisiting the past, reevaluating needs in order to, kind of move a lot of stuff out of the way so that we can start going on a whole new consciousness and a whole new reality in terms of how we are interfacing in our lives, our relationship to self, our relationship to all the key relationships of our life, and of course the whole material and mundane world as well too.
Right, exactly. All right, well, one last tidbit before we go to the break. Another thing I was observing, I keep weaving in Neptune because really I don't know how people get through any hard turn without having some kind of connection to the Creator. And Neptune in Pisces is retrograde, but it's moving in a sextile to Pluto in Capricorn retrograde. They never get exact, but they're within 2 degrees, right? So while all this is happening on this earthly plane, I also feel like there's always within reach something to help you rise, or something to help you dive to the depths so you can rise, so you can experience more growth on the climb, or elevation, connection. And so, this life is finite. Nothing is permanent except for the Neptunian experience. So it's going to be important in order for you to feel connected, in order to feel like you're evolving, to really access that Neptune energy as well as it sextiles Pluto. This is soul stuff, and it's very empowering to boot. There's a very empowering pairing right there to help you at every turn if you reach for it. We'll be right back.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
If you're like the 8 out of 10 women that say finding jeans that fit is a problem, well, your problem is solved. Lee Jeans has done extensive research, and they have jeans that fit. There's even an online Lee Fit Finder so you can find the right fit for you. Imagine jeans that instantly slim you with a custom fit and no gap waistband. And guys, kids, Lee has jeans for you too. Click through to Lee's Jeans on the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and get what fits.
Take one step towards spirit. Spirit will take 1,000 steps toward you. Come explore the world of evolutionary astrology with Rose Marcus. Rose Marcus is well known for her heartfelt passion, sensitive counseling skills, and dedication to helping others. You can now study evolutionary astrology from the comfort of your own home through live teleconference classes with Rose. To register for the next Evolutionary Astrology School, to read your in-depth monthly horoscope, or to book a private astrology with Rose Marcus, please visit her website, www.rosemarcus.com.
HealthyLife.net, the Positive Radio Network.
All right, we have returned. And Rose, did you want to say something?
Yes, we were talking about Neptune just before the break, and this show is going to air on June 30th. And Neptune stations retrograde on June 30th, right? It does its annual motion in retrograde. And whenever any planet turns retrograde, what it does, and Neptune is about attunement. I've talked about that before. It is about attuning. It's our collective attunement. And of course, as you just said a moment ago, it's attunement to source. But when Neptune turns retrograde, it helps for that tuning in to be more specific, right? And Neptune is all about your ultimate, right? Your ultimate sense of purpose, value, and meaning, and coming from the soul, it's like, what is the ultimate purpose behind the focusing in that is taking place right now with the retrograde planets that we have this setup coming forward.
Right. I was thinking it was already retrograde because I was forecasting for next month.
I know, we're always writing ahead, aren't we? Yeah.
But yeah, more specific with the retrograde. That's excellent. That's excellent advice, and just to remind people, it's up to us to take the time for anything, and our choices are leading the way. They're dictating the rate and speed of our evolution. So it's important to pause, to slow down, to check in with yourself, to maximize the moment when you see that. And Neptune retrograde, too, can be an incredible energy shift for healing troubled waters that have traveled or trailed you into this moment itself. And so I do really enjoy when I see that pairing. It's the Pluto and Capricorn retrograde at the 29-degree mark. It's so about getting real, working with your history, working with your soul history. What continues to limit and bind you? Where are you experiencing resistance or fear? What is getting in the way of your joy? This pairing will help you like water over time, will wear down any rock. Over time, it will also do what it needs to help you surrender into those places that have caused you fear, but you know you need to enter. So, yes, the retrograde for both of them.
Yeah, and just on that thought, too, whenever you don't know what to do and you are struggling, take a step back. Right, simplification. That is the ability to tune in. When you are struggling with something, there's too much chatter going on in the mind. Right, you need to just pull back. Whenever you pull back, that's when the downloads happen. That's when you are in attunement with yourself. Soul. Right, so just to remember that.
Perfect way to say that. It was receptivity. Yes. To be receptive, like a radio signal even, being receptive, and Venus, you said, is about tuning in, right? So you're tuning in, but you're also opening up at the same time.
That's exactly so. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kristin, as we move to the last of July then, on the 20th of July, Mars, which is in Virgo, opposes Saturn. On the 21st, the Sun opposes Pluto. On the 22nd, Venus turns retrograde. And on the 23rd, Chiron turns retrograde. That's quite a run of stars. What do you think about that?
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, whenever we have Mars and Saturn in opposition, of course, that can be a frustration aspect, right? We're just kind of getting to some place that might not be working. Mm-hmm. Again, the necessity to relinquish and to simplify is really important. Also, on the 20th, Sun is trining Neptune, which is quite a lovely aspect for doing that tuning in and for allowing creative to show you the way, right? Go with the flow, right?
Well, Rose, we talk about the fact that, Saturn opposing Mars is uncomfortable at best, and it's triggering, and, somebody's just, it feels like somebody's just getting under your skin, or it could be anything, the boss that just won't leave you alone, or, whatever it might be, because Saturn can be the authority, or, there can be things happening in the world politically, people making decisions that just make your hair stand on end, and it just stirs up all this anger or heat. But then, you see this beautiful trine from the Sun to Neptune, and so how do you understand when something so beautiful is happening, at the same time something so stressful is at play? And the energies can offset one another. They can also show you the silver lining to the dark cloud. And so how do you see that?
Yeah, I see it that way as well too, and it's kind of like what I always say. When I've got like a list of things that I need to do, right, and I'm struggling with item number 1 on the list because that feels like the priority, right?
Right.
And if I ever get to that point of where I'm so frustrated and I go like, well, I just can't do that, and I let it go, I'll find that down my list I'll be able to accomplish, items number 8 through 10, and then I can go back and do number 1. It's like, if you stop the struggle, you'll find that the natural flow will allow for what is meant to be to happen, right? And following that Mars Saturn opposition with a really nice Sun trine Neptune, the next day Sun and Pluto oppose. There's some good transits with the Moon, trine Jupiter and so forth, but Sun-Pluto opposition, that's an acceleration on, the creative development piece. So I think that can actually move the struggle along, just this bunching up of planets. The Venus retrograde, getting back to, I really got to take a look at this. I got to pull back here for a moment. I just got to take a pause. I think this few days allows for that to happen. If frustration is the trigger that gets you to shift gears, then so be it, right? I think that might be it. But because there's such dynamic, bunch up of transits here, I think it is divine order on it. It's like, I've got to stop here. I've got to shift gears. I've come to the end of the road of this. I mean, it just might be, it's Thursday. Maybe you're starting vacation. I don't know. But it feels like you might come to this point of where I'm just going to shift gears. I have to stop this in order to go someplace else right now. And that could be immediately, you could feel the wisdom of that, or feel the relief of that. So, not to struggle too much.
Right. I want to share something, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this writer's last name who wrote this. Brianna, Wiest. Is that Wiest? I don't know. Well, anyway, she says this: temporary. Everything, all of it, even in the best of it, especially the best of it. We only have so many years to know human love and do human things. Love them, all of them, even the painstaking ones. They, too, will not last. They are human. They are the experience, the insecurity, the experience, the heartache, the experience, the confusion, the experience, the joy, the experience, the risk, the experience. There is nothing lost if we learn something from it. Your willingness to fail is proportionate to your potential to gain and to grow. The timer never stops running. All you will regret is not reaching harder for the things you actually wanted while they were still in front of you.
Fabulous. I love that.
I think the last line was, I loved all of it. It's temporary, everything, all of it, even the best of it, especially the best of it, temporary, right? But all you will regret is not reaching harder for the things you actually wanted while they were still right in front of you.
Yes.
Hooah. And I would say the Mars opposition to Saturn that day we talked about, while the Sun is trining Neptune, that says it all right there on that day. And I'm not going to make one day so important, but there are days when we have the realization that we need to have, that it's now or never. I need to grab this thing and I need to go. It's the last time I can get on this train now. So, anyway, I think the full moon in Capricorn trining Jupiter is really making the most of your time here, making the most of every moment, because we can all have the sense that we're running out of time when Capricorn is really highlighted in the sky. And so there's nothing better than to just, jump in with both feet and maximize everything that you can while you're here. So thank you so much, Rose, again. It's always a joy traveling this journey with you, and we look forward to sharing more insights next month with you all. Happy holidays for those of you who are celebrating one, and until next time, namaste.